Hi, I'm Dan O'Day. As a radio advertising expert, often I'm asked, which is the better length for a radio commercial, 30 seconds or 60 seconds? To answer that question, let's first look at the evolution from 30-second radio commercials to 60-second radio commercials. Until the late 20th century, U.S. radio stations sold both 30s and 60s. A 60-second spot cost twice as much, or almost twice as much, as a 30. Cost-conscious advertisers typically sought to maximize the number of times their commercials would air by buying 30s. And there was a time when that made sense, especially when there were far fewer commercial messages being broadcast, and if your business was the only one in its category advertising on the radio. This remains true today in emerging markets, in countries where until recently there were no radio commercials. Often the governments of such countries limit the amount of commercials per hour, which automatically makes the ones that do air stand out. If you sell water in the middle of a great desert and yours is the only water within 300 miles, you can simply erect a huge sign that says water, and your advertising will be both effective and wise. But if you're selling mineral water out of a shop in a big city with lots of competition, probably you need to make more of an effort to sell your sales story. If yours is the only restaurant advertising on the radio, you might well be able to profit from 10-second blurbs that proclaim the best Chinese food in all of Luxembourg at Wally's Original Chinese Restaurant on Val Fleury across from the post office. In mature commercial radio markets, however, there is no novelty factor inherent in simply advertising on the radio, and most advertisers don't have the luxury of being the only one in their category to run radio commercials. The gradual shift in large and medium American markets to a predominance of 60-second spots came about as a result of a startling research discovery by radio stations, not by advertisers. Which do you suppose most listeners find more objectionable? A 3-minute commercial break that consists of 6 30-second spots, or a 4-minute commercial break that consists of 4 60-second spots? The answer, what we discovered, was that listeners perceive the number of commercial interruptions, not the number of minutes devoted to commercials. When I started in radio, most American radio stations limited the number of minutes in most commercial breaks. Today, most stations limit the number of commercials in any given break. That's because each time a new commercial begins, the average listener perceives it as yet another interruption. That's why most large and medium market stations now charge the same or almost the same for a 30 as for a 60, because they're not selling varying blocks of time. They're selling units. By units, I mean interruptions to the programming. Although the original intent was to protect the station's programming, it has had the added benefit of giving advertisers a better opportunity to maximize their sales messages, because that, ultimately, is what the advertiser should be trying to achieve. Not number of times aired, not cost per point, not even recall, but impact. With 60 seconds instead of 30, you can take the time to engage the targeted consumer in a conversation. You can pace and lead. You can begin by matching and reflecting the targeted consumer's own experiences and then lead them to your sales message in a natural fashion. You can take more time to show targeted consumers how your product or service can make their lives better. You can take more time to explain what differentiates your product or service from that offered by your competitors. You can give the announcer more time to speak at a slower, more conversational, more understandable, and more relatable pace than you hear in most radio commercials. And if your commercial utilizes entertainment as a tactical tool for delivering the sales message, you have more time to weave the sales message into the entertainment so that the listener cannot be entertained without simultaneously receiving the sales message. Sadly, this is not how most entertaining commercials are done. Most of them try to make you laugh for 50 seconds, and then at the end they throw in a 10-second sales pitch. I'm Dan O'Day. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
DanO'Day.com.
Digital
alignment parts.
Synchronize.